Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be resurrecting the old Ford Ranger. So right now, you can see here I got the battery on the old Pro Series DSR, trying to get some juice back into this old turd, and I'm gonna go see if it'll at least crank so I can get it over here into the garage to work on it. So show you, I'm gonna put the battery from the Jeep in there. This has 100% charge on it, interstate. See if she can fire up. All right, installed. Let's see if we can get this thing to purr temporarily. Oh yes. Okay, good. Let's get to it. All right, managed to get it back. You can hear what it's doing is randomly under load. Really, when the engine gets warm, that EGR valve just starts to fall apart. It doesn't want to do nothing, so let's get under the hood. I think I did a quick walk around of this old truck when my father-in-law first got it, but I figured I'd give you guys a little old square body pleasure here. Looking at this old charming truck. This is one of the last of the breed that are still in use. This truck gets a lot of use weekly. It's still working. They put a quick paint job on it. I think I noted that in my last video. Painted it back to turd brown, and it's got its share of crust up here on the roof. Someone had a bug flector on here. You know, but other than that, I mean, it's a pretty square truck. It's got it, you know, good bed on it, nice long bed, original wheels, and probably original mirrors and everything else. Interior's in really good shape. So time to get this thing repaired and back in service again. Still ain't dead either. So let me show you what we're working on here under the hood. Okay, so if you guys watched my previous video, I showed you how to pull codes out of an OBD1 system using a multimeter, and that gave me code 31, which is the EGR valve. So what I'm going to replace on this engine's EGR valve. I'm going to replace, I like to always do these EGR pressure feedback sensors, DPFE sensor, when I do an EGR valve, and then I'm also going to run with the new IAC valve, idle air control valve. These three kind of go together in my book when I do the repair. So without further ado, let me show you the locations of this stuff. So we'll start with the EGR valve. That's right here under the throttle bracket. You can see the old EGR valve kind of hanging out down there. A little bit hard to see. So EGR valve, DPFE sensors right here up on the top of the intake. Idle air control valve is right here on the side. So let's start with the easiest stuff first and throw a new IAC valve on. Way to get this thing out is just use it's got two 8mm bolts on it. So I just got an extension, and I'm just gently taking this thing out of here. Biggest thing is not to drop the screws, because it doesn't come with new screws. So wrench out of the way. And this is definitely original to the vehicle because the patina matches the intake manifold. That's how you can tell on these things. There's one screw right there. And there's the other. And there's the old valve. Doesn't look too bad. I've seen them worse. So let's get the new one on. I always like to compare the parts before I just stick them on, so I figured I'd throw this in the video. The gasket's offset, so you can only install it one way, which is good. If we look inside of the new one, you can see that little plunger is nice and tidy, clean. The old one, it's got some carbon buildup on it for sure. You know, whether it was faulty or not, iffy, but definitely good practice to do it since the repair is so simple. So that's the matchup right there. And it just uses a standard pigtail connector. You lift off the back side of the pigtail, pops right on. Got the bottom screw lightly threaded in. Get the top one. I just checked to make sure it's going to seat all the way. Then I torque it down. Word of advice too on these, don't use power tools on any of this stuff, especially on old cars, because you never know if a bolt's going to be seized up or if it's going to get hung up. And you round that head off of that bolt, you're going to be watching my screw extractor video. So definitely stay away from power tools. I got it all snugged up, top bolt, bottom bolt. Just connect the pigtail back there. That's good to go. EGR pressure feedback sensor couldn't be easier. Probably the easiest sensor on the truck to do. It pops out of these two little metal tabs on the sides. Just pop it out, just like that. It's got a vacuum hose that'll pop right off when you do that. You can pull that off first, but usually they just pop. And then a little pigtail here on the back. So let's get this popped. Once again, comparing the old here with the new, is when I pulled the old one off, this boot wanted to come out, which isn't a good sign that it's in good shape. And this looks pretty carboned up on the inside of that valve. This one's nice and pretty. And I believe these parts are made in the USA. Yeah, made in the USA right there, which is awesome. So let's get this on there. Yeah, it just pops down, hard to do with one hand, and then I'm just underneath reconnecting that hose. You can see that vacuum line, I mean, right down there, and pigtail can only go on one way, it's grooved. So now on to the EGR valve. So the way to do this, take out these two, I believe these are 10 mils on the top for the throttle bracket. It's gonna expose the EGR valve. Use 10 millimeter, and mine is on there good on this side. So be careful about heat snap. You don't want to keep going at this thing fast. You will snap it off. It is requiring a lot of force to get that going, so be mindful of that. And it is 10 millimeter. Now it's going. So I got mine loose. And I'll show this on camera because you got a throttle cable here. You also got the bracket for that new sensor we just put in. So move that off to the side. And this will just kind of slide out of the way, exposing EGR valve. Just like that. So there it is. More 10 millimeters. Assuming if these were heat locked, these are most likely going to be heat locked as well. So be careful taking those out. Before I loosen those off, actually, let's get this guy off here. This is a 15/16, and it's right-hand thread, meaning you're gonna tighten it on to loosen it off. All right, let's start with this guy right here. This is a 15/16, and mine wasn't that tight. Yours might be tight, so be careful. All I did was just give it a little snug turn, and that should come right out. Now that I got that loose, I'm gonna break these loose here. Extension might be a little too much on that. Extension moved off of here. It's on there. Oh yeah, okay, here we go. These things are on there, so really be careful. They're tight, and they can get friction burned right off. So yeah, I'm gonna let that sit for a minute, hit some oil on there. Got a little WD-40 soaking in here on the top one. I'm gonna go ahead and break this bottom one loose. Okay, there we go. Okay, that one's pretty good. That one's not too bad. That top one is it's tight. The reason why I'm so paranoid about these old engines is, I'll tell you, especially with these older Fords, you get to wrenching on one of these bolts, and especially the thinner stuff, these 10mm bolts, and even though it's backing out, when it feels real tight like that, it's causing a lot of friction, a lot of heat is happening. And what I've seen happen is as you're coming out, you just shear the whole bolt right apart, and it twists apart, and then now you got a stuck bolt inside of a intake manifold. So that's why I'm taking breaks on that, hitting it with oil. Okay, I just bolted on the EGR valve, reattached the throttle body, and that completes the 3 main tune-up parts here on this little super tune-up. So let's see how she purrs, or if she doesn't purr. We'll know in a second. Love these old trucks. All right. Little secret, I already started it up. I wanted to make sure it was good. Let's take it for a little ride. Oh yeah. Purring now. Check the responsiveness.